Welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for today. Lined on up today, we have our WWE NXT review. We're going to jump right onto that right quick. I also have our AEW Dynamite preview. We're also going to jump into our third segment, which features is Bill Goldberg a good wrestler or not? We're going to, talk about some past, things that he botched, that, kind of set the negative perspective of him not as an amazing wrestler. Kind of, we're going to, discuss that in stone. Fourth segment, we're going to talk about, top WWE stars that have also botched matches. Some of them ultimately cost them, their push, time in the company, or their jobs, so obviously botching moves is a huge no-no. But also, our fifth and final segment, we're gonna end off with my with my wrestling, with my Wednesday wrestling news roundup. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right on into that. But before I move on or do anything like that, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, tell me what your thoughts are in terms of professional wrestling, potential storylines and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm open to 1,010%. Any perspective, anything you guys want. Give me a shout out where you're at. Tell me, what you think. What I'm talking about is absolutely wrong or might be, a bit ludicrous. But hey, that's what I'm here for. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button and follow the show always, always, always. So this puts your questions right up on top so I can see it. Ultimately that really, really does help the show, guys. A little peace, love, and positivity here at the GSMC Sports Network. The link is at the gsmcpodcast.net, so don't be too shy to let me know how you guys feel. There are no wrong answers, so don't be afraid to just shoot a comment or whatever. All right, first we're gonna jump right on into our WWE NXT. So first and foremost, I was not really a huge fan of how WWE kind of handled the NXT 25-man battle royal. I kind of thought it was going to be more like it was taken a little more seriously. I don't like it how everybody kind of started in the ring at the same time. The only people that had entrances are those who it was like a big deal. You had Frankie Kazarian from Total Nonstop Action, and then you also had Ethan Page, newly acquired. You had Javon Evans, and then you also had I believe in Joe Handry. So definitely love that. Definitely thought that was probably one of the highlights of it. Obviously, it was out of 5 stars, I probably give it like I would say like a 2.5. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I feel like, but then again, maybe that was just me. Maybe that was me having too much maybe having too much faith. I wanted to be surprised so much. I got my hopes up. So maybe it was my fault. Like, who knows? Like, I was anticipating like Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy coming out of nowhere, Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth. Like, all of a sudden Mustafa Ali pops up. And then, oh my God, it's a Moose from the system. Yeah, I don't know. I also kind of thought Ricochet might have like I feel like if he wasn't destroyed by Braun Breaker, I feel like maybe he would have had a chance to like you know, be a part of this whole like shocking kind of value. Also, Cody Rhodes says he is going to come to the I think what did Trick Williams say? I think it was the barbecue. I think he said, which is NXT Heatwave. So I kind of thought maybe he would make an appearance, which would have been awesome. But you saw the likes of Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Rich Holland, Dragon Lee, Apollo Crews, the Don himself, et cetera, et cetera. It was kind of crazy because like right off the bat, you saw Kazarian eliminate Joe Handry, which sucked because I wanted Joe Handry to win. And I don't know, it just kind of sucked how everybody started at the same time. Obviously, Ethan Page was kind of taken out in early in the match. I kind of knew that was going to happen. And then you had Javon Evans. Javon Evans, win the 20-year-old, kid from NXT. Totally impressive. He's a totally impressive guy, but honestly, I would have rather had, more of a, more like a heel versus like babyface kind of thing. Of course, it is still kind of young. Maybe Javon Evans gets injured. Obviously, he was attacked. You see him like with his ribs, bandaged up. So it could be possible maybe Ethan Page takes him out. He won that match, where we're gonna get into it later on. So I don't know. It'd be kind of. I would rather have a rematch between Paige and Trick Williams, before Evans and Trick Williams match. But I just feel like that's a little too early, a little premature. So obviously that's my opinion. Let me know how you feel in the comments section. Um, so then Chase U finally accepts Ridge Holland. It's been forever. And Thea Hale, along with Duke Hudson. No, it might be. No, I think it is Duke. I think it is Duke Hudson. No, the other guy. No, I get those two confused all the time. They finally accepted Ridge Holland. Finally, I feel like this was ultimately the right move. I was kind of thinking of the benefits of Rich Holland, kind of screwing over Chase U. I really honestly wouldn't know in terms of WWE creative how that would kind of stir the pot, how that would get viewers, and just how that would interest the WWE universe. So, so far, I feel like what they're doing right now is, really, really good, and happy to see Ridge wind up at Chase U. Then we see the triple threat women's tag match. You saw Roxanne Perez teaming up with Lola Vice against Last Legend and Miss Jackson, and then of course you saw Jasmine Nix and also JC Jane. So just this match was entertaining, but you kind of ultimately knew what was going to happen at the end. Obviously, you see JC Jane's new gift presented to her by Cody Rhodes. She's taking it a little too seriously. I feel like she's having that obsession with that face mask, which could be cool with, the, kind of angle could be cool. Maybe she's getting, Cody Rhodes powers or something like that. Maybe. But I don't know. The match was decent. It was decent, but we all knew that, Roxanne Perez was going to eventually hit the Pop Rocks. And then after the match, Roxanne Perez didn't even celebrate with Lola Vice. She elbowed her, knocked her right off real quick, put her on the ground. And it was, that's Roxanne Perez. So far, I feel like the WWE NXT Women's Champion is, killing it. So, happy for that. Then we see the WWE Women's North American Championship. I liked it. I did like it. Michin showed a lot of heart out there, as well as, Kelani, Jordan. But this Jaida Parker, of course, gets involved, and I kind of hated that because from the get-go, Jordan was saying how she wanted to like kind of put prestige on the title, and if you have somebody, kind of interfere and kind of mess with it, I feel like ultimately that kind of sets you back. So this match really kind of course, this is my opinion. It kind of really it didn't mean anything. I feel like it really meant nothing to Kelani Jordan. I felt like for her in her first title defense, probably should have won cleanly, especially against Michin. Michin is kind of like she's a mid carder, very unpredictable. No doubt that whenever she's in a match, you kind of anticipate the other side winning, but she did good. And in terms of like showcasing her skills, in terms of what to expect from a champion, or how she's going to kind of dictate matches and stuff like that. She was a little sporadic at first, I gotta admit. Like watching the match, I was like, oh, a little nasty. But I feel like overall with the veteranship of with Michin, and she knew Kaylani Jordan was, she's trying to kind of get up from the stacks and kind of prove her name for herself. Obviously, after the ladder match at WWE NXT Battleground, I saw Michin kind of clapping her hands for Kelani Jordan. So I feel like she's behind her 110%. Obviously, you kind of have Jaida Parker and Michin wanting to battle it out once again. Next week we do have Sol Ruka and Ariana Grace. I don't know if that's going to have any number one contendership for the WWE Women's North American Championship moving forward. Should be interesting to kind of find out what's up with that. And like just so you had the what I kind of previewed in terms of WWE NXT, but the three big things were kind of over in an hour. So I was kind of the moment that kind of happened, I was kind of looking at my screen. I was like, okay, like what else is going to happen? What else is going to happen? Next, we saw Oba Femi address the WWE NXT universe. Of course, you saw Wes Lee come out. Absolutely hated it. I don't think Wes Lee deserves even a shred of a chance at the WWE NXT North American Championship. I feel like he had his chance. He blew it. And the only crazy thing, you saw Brooks Jensen getting tackled down by security guards. I was watching it and I had to press pause. I was like, "What the hell's going on back there? Like, what's?" And then you could see the two wrestlers like kind of like trying to get to it. I guess this is all part of a storyline. And then you also saw in a promotion with Eddie Thorpe, you saw like a cop car and you saw them bringing Jensen behind. So it's very possible that it could possibly be part of the storyline, because I know I feel like ever since the whole Enzo Amore kind of thing happened in wrestling, where he would show up in random WWE events, live events, and then he would like try to make his way out to the ring and he would just be protesting inside the stands with the fans and stuff like that. So I don't think it's to that much the amplification. Like, I don't think it's that bad, but I was kind of fooled. I was kind of fooled. I was like, you know what, like this looks kind of real. So you have Brooke Jensen kind of hanging in the background of what's going to happen within. I'm not too sure. But ultimately, you see Oba Femi accept a challenge by Wes Lee. This is Wes Lee's last chance. If he doesn't beat Oba Femi, he will never ever challenge for the WWE NXT North American Championship, as long as Femi holds the crown. So glad we're going to figure out what's what. I don't know what would happen, what's going to happen at Heatwave. It could be, something completely crazy, but, moving on from this, we also saw Hank and Tank they want the New Cats Republic, Tyler Bates and, Pete Dunne. And then you saw Fallon Henry defeat Carly Bright. Chase University defeated with Duke Hudson, and Andre Chase defeated the OC. And in the main event, you saw Ethan Page defeat Javon Evans. We kind of knew what was going to happen, but then after the match, you saw Sean Spears and Ethan Page attack Trick, but of course Javon Evans kind of came to his aid there. So yeah. It was a good NXT. I gotta be honest. It was, pretty darn good. Well, guys, do not go anywhere. We're gonna jump into a different spaceship here in terms of wrestling promotions. We're gonna jump into the spaceship that is All Elite Wrestling. We're gonna preview Dynamite happening right before your very eyes on TNT, TBS. Obviously, right now it's like 8:23, so it's airing right now. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait. Hey, stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick. We talked about WWE NXT review. Make sure you check out that video on YouTube, on our Sports Network, and also our podcasting network. And now we're going to jump into our AEW Dynamite preview. But before I move on with that, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Viewers like you come in and they want to give their questions, they want to give their opinions, they want to give their very, very valid responses, and I'm for it. I can't wait. I absolutely love it when I feel like this show is better when there's a lot of audience engagement, 1,010%. So don't be afraid to hit up that chat button. Shoot me questions about wrestling. Maybe just tell me how you feeling about certain wrestling aspects. It doesn't necessarily have to be questions. It doesn't have to be opinions. They can be statements as well. Like, as a wrestling fandom, we all kind of bond over this kind of discussion where, like, yeah, green is good, here and there, but then disagreeing, better. So yeah, make sure you use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot your questions, just put your questions up on top of the list so I can see it. And it really does help the show, guys. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do kind of back ourselves on a lot of audiences satisfaction. So a little peace, love, and positivity is goes 1,010% all the way. Again, the link is at the gsmcpodcast.net. So it's Wednesday. You know what that means? I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I like that. I'm a wrestling dork, kind of. Obviously, that Monday Night Wars. You had that kind of thing with Monday Night Nitro. AEW Dynamite. Like it's great. It's great. I'm a huge wrestling dork. So you know. So we are 2 weeks before the AEW's premium pay-per-view. It's not premium live event because they actually go on pay-per-view. Pay-per-view Forbidden Door. Today on Dynamite, we are at the Illegal Bank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia. First and foremost, we're going to talk about this no interruptions match between MJF and El Toro Blanco Rush. MJF is trying to get back on top while Rush is just kind of being Rush right now. He's very, oh man, something that I love about this guy, something that I love about watching Rush is that he's kind of like unhinged, kind of like kind of like Drew McIntyre meets Bray Wyatt, and if they had a cute little Mexican baby, it would be Rush. Just kidding, no. But you have Rush trying to end the momentum of MJF. Of course, you saw MJF make his much anticipated return at AEW Double or Nothing. It was, very, very good. He came out, kicked Adam Cole in the crotch, and it's all legends. I'm just kidding. No, it's all, it's all downhill from here. So you have one crazy sick SOB against one crazy cocky sick SOB. So this match is going to be amazing. No interruptions, no commercials whatsoever. So I kind of anticipate this kind of being in the first kind of like in the first match kind of segment kind of thing, or maybe in the in the final minutes of Dynamite. But these guys are going to tear each other apart. I ultimately kind of thought they were going to fight at Forbidden Door, but the fans are getting it sooner than expected, sooner than it's like an early Christmas gift. Can't wait to watch this match. Next, we're going to see an eliminator match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. You have the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, against the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. And all I really gotta say, and I love the Young Bucks. I love the Young Bucks. Definitely, a tag team that I've grown to like. Watching the independent circuit, someone that's kind of someone that's not part of your cliche wrestling tag team number ones. Obviously, you kind of have people like, oh, what about, the Midnight Express, or what about the Road Warriors, or, what about, Harlem Heat, or what about the New Day, what about the Usos, what about, the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian and Matt Hardy. No, these guys have been, kind of off the radar, but definitely deserve to be in that top 5, top 3 even. These guys are international. That's obviously, they never really jumped into the spotlight of WWE or WCW, but they were around. They were around. So you got to respect Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. Obviously, home favorite boys right here. They're from the Rancho Cucamonga area, which is about 45 minutes from me. So, absolutely dope. Can't wait to see what they do, in terms of that. But to be honest, as a fan, I kind of see them being devolved a little bit. I kind of see them ever since they became EVPs. I feel like and I'm going to play kayfabe here, is that they have all this stress of dealing with a company like AEW since Tony Khan got injured, thanks to Jack Perry, part of the Elite. They just have so much BS on their plates. Maybe they can't focus up. Maybe they can't be that tag team because they're trying to, kind of promote the tag team division and other tag teams, so to speak. So, that could be possibly why you see the EVPs losing a lot recently. Not a lot. Obviously, they won at when they were Anarchy in the Arena. But you just, I don't know, it's crazy. When I say they lose, and I don't mean they lose, sometimes when you actually win in wrestling, you just see you lose. if this match has been, if a match has been favored by an opposing team throughout the whole match, it's been dictated, they were in control the whole entire time, and then you steal the win with the roll up, or you steal the win thanks to an interference or a distraction or a weapon or something like that. I feel like that's kind of a loss there. But obviously, from that stance, probably a lot of you guys watching me right now, they're probably like, "Hey, Eric, knock knock. Guess what? Who's there?" That's what you call a heel. That's what they do. It's professional wrestling. And it's fair. It's fair. Obviously, if you feel that way, hit me up in the chat section. But I feel like the Young Bucks can be doing so much better than that. I feel like they could be like an actual tag team matches. They could be actually fighting, showing that they are running AEW, not because they're some kind of a dictatorship, not because they're like playing favorites, and not because they're screwing over other superstars and making deals with like BS teams like the patriarchy. I feel like they can do it with their actual talent. That honestly really makes what a stable really does. Like kind of like what you saw. I know they've kind of had scrutiny with, you kind of have the elite with Okada, Perry, and also Matthew and Nicholas Jackson kind of being compared to NWO, but NWO was kind of fierce. But NWO, you had a dominating Scott Hall, you had a dominating, Kevin Nash, big sexy, Daddy Cool Diesel, and then you had, of course, Hulk Hogan, the icon, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, Run Wild, yeah. Oh, that sounded like LA Knight. I don't know why I said that. Apologies. But no. I don't know. I just feel like AEW could be kind of handling this in like more of a different kind of way. But kind of moving on, we're running out of time for this segment. So yeah, next we have an 8-man tag team match. We're gonna see Mark Briscoe. It's kind of crazy how they've been doing 8-man tag team matches. I love it. I love it 1,010%. I think WWE should do a lot of that, and also trios matchups and championships. So we have an 8-man tag team match. You have Mark Briscoe, the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, teaming with Dante Martin, Kyle O'Reilly, and freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy are going to fight against the Don Callis family, consisting of Kyle Fletcher, the Ring of Honor television champion, also Konosuke Takeshita, and then you have them teaming up with the Undisputed Kingdom's Roderick Strong, and of course Zack Sabre Jr. Should be interesting. I love the fact that I love watching basically Mark Briscoe do anything. And last week when he was teaming with Kyle O'Reilly, I really wish they kind of got the win here. I feel like they are going to this time. I feel like they're gonna. I kind of thought, I was like, dude, where's Trent Beretta? After like I saw freshly squeezed names in there, I was like, dude, where's Trent Beretta? It'd be more fitting if you obviously remember a newly member of the Don Callis family should have been in the with the 4-on-4, but hey, sometimes it doesn't all work out that way. Next, we have a men's men's Owen Hart Cup qualifying match, quarterfinals match. Excuse me. We have the Bastard Pack against Claudio Coscanoli, and then the women's Owen Hart. Why can't I say that? Owen Hart Cup. You see Nyla Rose against Chris Statlander. We were going to see an AEW Women's World, Championship contract signing between the timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Obviously, you have Mariah May still kind of lingering in the wakes, kind of being stuck between these two superstars that she admires so much. Also, we have Swerve Strickland will come face to face with Will Ospreay. Should be awesome. Should be crazy. Obviously, a lot of promos. This not pay-per-view. You have 2 weeks until the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, so you can expect this 2 weeks of AEW Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision to kind of just be promos after promos, like bangers after bangers after bangers. Also, something on like a side note I'm going to share, because I feel like right now, AEW, I feel like you don't really have to compete with the NHL playoffs. You don't have to compete with the NBA playoffs. You don't have to compete with WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor right now. Honestly, this Wednesday is yours. I feel like AEW Dynamite needs to be spectacular. Because right now you kind of have all the attention on you. Like, even if you're not a fully developed AEW fan, and if you kind of dabbled on it a little bit, you're gonna be kind of like watching and be like, oh man, what do I watch now? Oh, it's 8 o'clock. You know what that means, AEW Dynamite. So I'm just, kind of thinking from like a business perspective. I think this is gonna be a huge night for them. Obviously, I'm gonna see a lot of promos from men's and women's superstars in AEW in the locker rooms, kind of declaring their, their qualifying matches for the Owen Hart Cup. Their learning tree also wants to get even with Private Party, which was an amazing, I thought that was an amazing segment. Can't wait to see what happens with Chris Jericho. Can't wait to see what happens with their learning tree. So, guys, do not go anywhere. Hope you guys hope you guys are enjoying the show. Definitely. Our third segment, we're gonna jump on into why was Goldberg a good wrestler. I'm gonna give you guys my feedback, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So, hey, hang on in there. We're gonna enjoy this wrestling show one step at a time, baby.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just to kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick, we talked about a WWE NXT review. Also talked about our AEW Dynamite preview. And now, without further ado, we're going to jump on into our third segment. We're going to talk about was Bill Goldberg. Obviously, and a lot of you guys know who Bill Goldberg is, even if you're not, kind of like your contemporary wrestling fan. Obviously, you've seen him in movies like The Longest Yard. Obviously, he was pretty cool in The Longest Yard. And Battle X is absolutely badass. But before I move on, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot your questions, comments, and concerns. Definitely be a part of the show. Honestly, really, really honestly be a part of the show. This show is a hell of a lot better with a lot of audience engagement. I absolutely love people sounding off in the chat section. I don't care if your opinion or your views about things in wrestling are absolutely, bonkers or ludicrous or I don't feel shy. There's no wrong answers. So make sure you make sure you hit up that chat, hit up the gsmcpodcast.net, shoot your tips and donations. So, it's going to be, it's going to be a great show. It's only better with you guys in it. So hopefully, once again, this, technology is good to me today. And yeah, all right, here we go. So we're going to jump on into this segment. So obviously, we're going to talk about was Bill Goldberg an actual, formidable wrestler? Right now, before this segment, I'm going to give you guys my answer. I kind of thought no. I kind of thought no. I don't think he was a great wrestler. I don't think he was a great champion. Overall, obviously, from his background and stuff like that, Bill Goldberg was impressive. He was impressive. Obviously, you see a man of his kind of physique. He's he's like your template. Have you guys ever played any wrestling game in the WrestleMania 2000 or, Raw versus SmackDown 2006 or now, he's like that template. Like you hit up that template, you're like, oh, what's a perfect wrestler kind of look like? You see this guy who kind of looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin and you're like, oh, okay, this guy has muscles. Like, you know what I mean? So let's create that guy. So that's kind of what Bill Goldberg was in terms of WCW. I felt like when they saw him there, they kind of flirted with that, that bad boy mentality. I'm not saying that they were trying to steal Stone Cold Steve Austin's MO, but you kind of see, the black, undergarments, and you also see the bald head, like, and then you wanted him to be this bad boy. You wanted him to fight against the NWO, wanted him to feud with, Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo and stuff like that. So you can't, I don't know if you really can't convince me. Obviously, hit up the chat if you convince me that Bill Goldberg wasn't a Stone Cold Steve Austin knockoff. But obviously that's my opinion, 1,010%. So we're going to talk about both of the men's involvement recently. Bill Goldberg and Bret Hart has been seen, has been interviewed, also has been kind of testimonied with Vice's professional wrestling docuseries, Who Killed WCW? So Bret Hart ultimately thinks the former football player turned professional wrestler, due to his lack of training, also his recklessness inside of the ring, was to blame for him, ultimately losing his career. At Starrcade 99, a stiff kick to Bret's head, causing a concussion that ultimately ended his career. Bret Hart tried to get into the ring after that. Couldn't. He was, he constantly had vertigo, constantly had the spins, constantly kept getting concussions. And it was to the point where you kind of have to worry about a wrestling career or ultimately your own health. So Bret Hart, was forced to kind of retire early, not kind of in his prime-ish, but he was one of the best. He's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, the excellence of execution. I could imagine if Bret Hart would have stayed around WCW a little longer, I felt like it would have possibly gave the Monday Night Wars, more of a run for their money in terms of WWF, WWE buying out ECW and WCW. So this was big. This was very, very big, how this all kind of went down here. But, can you really blame Bill? It's, once again, it's like, although I can admit that he wasn't the best wrestler. There's, no one's out there to kind of pretend, to kind of, purposely hurt anybody. Obviously, there are certain superstars. Obviously, there are some certain circumstances, which is completely unprofessional in terms of the sports entertainment wrestling industry. But some people do actually do that. Like, obviously, they see you as competition. They kind of see you as someone who's going to take your job, which, that's food off the table of your family. That's money, that's gas away from your car. And oh my God, how expensive gas is nowadays. Oh my God, I killed some. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, definitely, definitely not. But I don't know. It's crazy. So Goldberg stands by the story that he did tell Bret Hart to watch out for the kick, and Hart failed to put his hands up. He failed to put his hands up. Obviously, this kind of makes me ponder on if Bill Goldberg's kind of gassing us, or maybe perhaps how Bret Hart kind of was. And, obviously he's not the easiest man to admit whenever he's wrong. And he's like, oh, like, I did not hear that. Like, it was all my bad. For him, especially if the shoe was, on the other foot, where maybe Bret Hart injured Bill Goldberg. But since Bill Goldberg kind of ended Bret Hart's career with this injury, he ultimately kind of has to be like, fault. He kind of has to be that, guilty by association kind of thing. Because he can't really, relate to Bret Hart. He can't really walk up to him and be like, hey, man, sorry, dude, I messed up. It was a botch. I'm sorry, dude. Sorry. And then Bret Hart's going to look at him and be like, dude, this isn't your regular botch, because botches happen. Botches do happen in terms of professional wrestling. But no, you can't really relate to that. And Bret Hart can't really go up to him and be like, yeah, dude, shake my hand. Yeah. Dude, yeah, you cost my career. What the hell am I going to do now? Like, bro, like, I have a family to try to support as well. I will never, ever, wish ill upon anybody, of course, but obviously that's what Bill Goldberg said. But it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how it kind of all went down. These two still have high animosity about it. Who I think's in the right, I'm not too sure. Obviously, there are two sides of each story. Mistakes do happen, especially when you're within an industry like the professional wrestling. SHIT stuff does happen, but like as Bret at the top of your game, or like topping at the top of your game, you obviously you always kind of have that thought in the back of your head, like, what really could have been? What could have been of Bret Hart? What could have been of WCW? What could have been his chances of being the best wrestler in the world instead of being bought by WC, but by being bought by WWE and kind of have WCW talent kind of shouldered over. Obviously, you kind of have Ted Turner and maybe Jim Crockett, kind of thinking like, oh, maybe we could have been something bigger, but I don't know. It's just it's kind of crazy. So, Bill Goldberg had a message to share to Bret Hart, and I quote, he said, "I love you, but grow up and don't be such a prick. First and foremost, I would never, never wish ill upon any opponent. To have an accident like that end someone's career, especially someone who's one of the best that ever was." And he's true. It's like you can just sense the sincerity. Just you can like I'm, I've never had someone come up to me and end my career. I've never had someone come up to me and like it's a little more personal than that. Like I said before, like that's food off of your family's table. That's your success. That's your passions going right down the drain thanks to some guy who can't land a decent move. But it's just kind of crazy. And lastly, we're gonna finish up this segment. The Undertaker also fought Goldberg in 2019 Super Showdown, where where Goldberg did botch a jackhammer. Obviously, he was a little older now, but he botched the jackhammer that made the Undertaker contemplate retiring because you saw him land on the back of his head, and yeah, he was done. The Undertaker was contemplating on retiring, and I think, I'm not trying to put the blame on Bill Goldberg because, obviously, I feel like in any type of a situation or circumstance within life, work, anything, personal relationships, love relationships, whatever, playing the blame game never really does anything. It just kind of shoots the point. It kind of, leads to no solutions, just more gray areas. But, of course, once again, that is my, opinion. You also saw him botch, a jackhammer against Bray Wyatt, which he beat Bray Wyatt within under 3 minutes, which was kind of crazy. You see him constantly botch, basic moves. You seen him botched his own entrance in that same match with The Undertaker where he came out too early. You've seen him botch the spear against DDP, giving him a concussion, and you've seen him botch a guillotine against Roman Reigns, which was actually kind of scary. Which, obviously a guillotine, you kind of, had it with the ropes and, on his neck and stuff like that. Probably could have ended a little more, catastrophic, but thank God it did not. So, yeah, honestly, after the segment, was Bill Goldberg a good wrestler? My first answer was no. And after we talked about what we talked about, oh God, a lot of pressure, but I'm gonna still, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I don't think he was. I don't think he was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't think he was. I know he was kind of like bigger than your average ordinary bear in terms of WWE. You kind of see this problem happen a lot, especially with bigger guys like Braun Strowman, The Big Show. Also, Andre the Giant had some problems with this as well. Um, it's hard, and also Brock Lesnar, hurting people inside of the ring. But it's just kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. It's not that black and white. Obviously, it's not that dichotomous. There's probably some gray areas in terms of that. Well, guys, do not go anywhere. We're gonna talk. We're gonna continue on. We're gonna keep talking about botches in the professional wrestling industry, also in the squared circle. We're gonna talk about some famous botches that almost cost these WWE superstars their careers. So, hey, stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we're back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Please remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button and follow the show constantly. We are live on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So make sure you support the show just to kind of reiterate and kind of reflect on what we talked about. Our first segment, we talked about our WWE NXT review. We also talked about our AEW Dynamite preview. We talked about was Bill Goldberg an actual good wrestler? And now we're going to jump right on into our fourth segment. We have a pretty good one. The famous botches that almost cost WWE superstars their push, their job, just their overall liking amongst Vince McMahon and WWE, creative officials. So let's go ahead and start. First, we're going to start off with Ken Kennedy. First, we're going to start off with Ken Kennedy. Obviously, you saw him. He did win one of the Money in the Banks. You saw him lose it against Edge in a match, which I feel like kind of, not really payback or not kind of like, what is that, in work where you're not supposed to, retaliation in terms of that. But ultimately, you saw Ken Kennedy. He dropped Randy Orton too high on a backdrop. Ultimately cost him his job after that. Vince McMahon really honestly didn't want anything to do with Ken Kennedy, and then you would see Ken Kennedy kind of move forward to TNA. But I liked Ken Kennedy. I kind of liked it, with the microphone coming down, I'd be like, Kennedy. No, that was, to cost him his job. I feel like nothing's kind of worth that much. Of course, obviously, if there's some kind of, disaster, like catastrophic, deadly or whatever. But I feel like they should have kept Ken Kennedy around a little longer than they actually did. So, definitely Ken Kennedy was the one who, although he kind of botched it, it just, it just wasn't that great, bro. Why'd you got to do that? I'm just kidding. No. Next, we have The Miz. In 2012. His tag team partner, who he is the WWE Tag Team Champion with right now, Ronda Truth Killings, with little Jimmy. He failed. He failed to catch R-Truth while R-Truth was trying to make a dive outside of the ring. And obviously in 2012, I feel like at this point, you kind of saw Miz's kind of coming out, homecoming kind of party, so to speak. So you can't really hold a superstar like that accountable. But when he went backstage after that match, reports show, I read it on the Sportster, that he got an earful. He got big, he got thrashed at from Triple H, like, dude, you can't be, why are you doing this to our superstars? And a lot of people thought it was on purpose. That's their first and foremost. That's their thought. That's, that's one of their main go-to thoughts is they're like, you know what, dude, this guy kind of he did it on purpose. And, I don't, obviously you kind of have The Miz. He got better. Now, honestly, in the ring, you have the Miz as one of the top superstars. Also, in terms of promos and also on the mic, you kind of have him doing his thing. So a young Miz, yeah, dude, you can mess up. I'm sorry. Like, at the same time, you got to be professional and do your job and catch, truth. But at the same time, dude, wrestling's unpredictable. Like, what are we supposed to do here? We're supposed to, predict the future. We're supposed to find out, when this guy's going to do this, this stuff. But obviously, that's what they got paid millions of dollars for, is to kind of do this. That's something about for professional wrestling that'll probably a lot of people kind of sweep under the rugs in terms of talent that, essentially it's kind of like this live action movie that's happening with zero rehearsals, with zero line, script reads. Like, these guys are performing right on the cusp, like totally raw, Monday Night Raw. But it's it's kind of crazy. Obviously, I feel for The Miz in terms of that. Next, we have Mickie James. Mickie James failed to land 3 consecutive moves in her match against Gail Kim, which definitely kind of showed WWE that, okay, can we trust Mickie James now? Or should we let her go? And then obviously we kind of saw her going to TNA. There's been speculation. There was reports that said that she wasn't really admissed about it. She wasn't really that. What's the word? Lack of a better term. regrettable. Like she didn't like she kind of blamed it on on Gail Kim. She at that time I feel like she was kind of like heading toward like kind of like a vet in terms of WWE. But then you kind of saw both the girls go to TNA, so there probably could have been like some kind of BS in terms of that. So she failed to land 3 consecutive moves, totally botched. Did it cost her career? Perhaps. Obviously, there was some junk and there's some speculation with John, but we're not going to get into that. This is, we're not going to, jump into that, because I feel like that wouldn't, or maybe it'll get me more viewers, Let's talk about John Cena. I'm just kidding. No, moving on. Definitely moving on. All right. So Roman Reigns, surprisingly, your tribal chief coming up in the world of wrestling was one of the person who botched the most moves. Definitely. Like he would still, still kind of learn how to do a promo. Obviously, we had that promo with John Cena and him, where John Cena was like, you kind of have to cut a promo, kid, once, and, nowadays. So, I'll wait. I'll wait. I'm only here because you can't do your job. Like that promo was probably one of the best promos cut in WWE history. But once again, Randy Orton was the victim on this botched move, and Roman Reigns, when he went backstage, he did hear an earful. Obviously, didn't do too much because the WWE still kind of trusted him as the guy, and 1,010% they were correct. And next we have Diamond Dallas Page and The Undertaker. So when DDP came to stalk The Undertaker's wife, which was stupid as hell. Obviously exploiting WCW talent when WWE acquired it. So their feud with the Undertaker DDP, it was kind of crazy because Diamond Dallas Page, ever since he was in WCW, he's kind of had the reins. He was kind of teaching other guys how to kind of do things, and you kind of see him try to match up, kind of try to map out some matches with the Dead Man. But obviously, I don't know if it's thanks to confidence or ego or whatever, like, oh, WWE bought you out, man, who the hell are you to tell me how to do my job? But Diamond Dallas Page was kind of that person in WCW. I felt like he felt like he was going to come to WWE and kind of have that same like teamwork kind of mentality. And I'm not trying to crap or throw shade at the Undertaker, but he was younger now. Definitely had that WWE over WCW hitch on his back, according to reports. So there's no surprise that he did not want to give Diamond Dallas Page the attention, the reins on the match. Although maybe it could have made it better. Perhaps it could have made it better. But ultimately, the Undertaker was like, "Look, I don't want to work with this guy anymore," which eventually led to Diamond Dallas Page being released by WWE. And lastly, I want to talk about this because this is probably one of the most iconic botches that I remember, especially in my tenure as a WWE fan. So Kofi Kingston hits a move on Randy Orton. Randy Orton is absolutely irate, even slaps Kofi Kingston on the back of the head a couple times, calling him stupid, like, and it's crazy. Like these superstars actually get pissed off at each other. I remember watching that and I was like, what is Randy doing? Like, okay, like I admit, like, you're trying to be that guy, but that's a little bit too much. But ultimately they were able to kind of squash it. I think this was when Kofi Mania actually was kind of being surfaced. But no, I think it might have been before that. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But it was just kind of funny. It was just kind of funny how this all went down. Randy Orton once again becoming a victim of the botches. Well, he's kind of a big dude, Obviously, if you're the other wrestler, don't like expect to do do some the Three Amigos with this guy. Don't expect to do some kind of crazy suplex because Randy Orton, he's a big dude. So make sure make sure you think twice about trying to do a crazy move with this guy because it could be botched. And once again, Randy Orton becomes the victim. So obviously there is an honorable mention that I kind of want to mention after the segment ended. Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is, I feel like, in terms of women's wrestling, probably the queen of botched moves, and she's been with the WWE with so very little time. I felt like she was finally getting better, but then as soon as that kind of happened, obviously, kind of had that thing happen with the WWE creative where I felt like she wanted to face Becky Lynch. I felt like her and Becky had some pretty good plans how they wanted to match out their kind of map out their matches. Also, when you had her and the Liv Morgan thing where they kind of want that creative freedom freedom. And she was, to all support of Ronda Rousey, where she was like, okay, you give the guys, creative, thought for hours and hours and hours. And for the women's matches, you're like, oh, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, we're done. So, definitely respect her in terms of that. Definitely loved how she actually went out there and voiced her opinion. It's not easy. It's not easy transitioning from a UFC fighter to the WWE. So, yeah, honestly, throwing flowers, but at the same time, a little bit of shade. So, guys, do not go anywhere. Our fifth and final segment, we're going to talk about our Wednesday wrestling news. So, hey, stay tuned, grab a bag of chips, enjoy your favorite beverage, and watch your favorite wrestling host, Eric Rodriguez. All right, and we are back with our fifth and final segment from the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just to kind of reflect on what we talked about, make sure you catch up, on some of these videos on YouTube if you want to check those out. We had our WWE NXT review, our AEW Dynamite preview. We talked about, was Bill Goldberg a good wrestler? And our fourth segment, we jumped into, historic WWE, botches that could have ultimately costed the career, the push, or maybe the landscape of WWE. So, obviously that, could have been affected. So, guys, let's go ahead and jump right on into this Wednesday wrestling news. So, yeah, let's start. So, guys, we're going to start off first. Don't remove yourself from the screen. You are seeing what you are seeing. Liv Morgan still continues to tempt Dirty Dom. Liv Morgan continues on social media through her antics to persuade Dominic Mysterio that she wants her to be her poppy. Like it's to the point right now where I want something to kind of surface from it, but I kind of know nothing's gonna happen until maybe Rhea Ripley kind of comes back. Which could be a SummerSlam. I doubt anything's going to happen at Money in the Bank. I hope she finds a competitor to kind of fight, for the WWE World Women's Heavyweight Championship. But Dominic Mysterio right now. It's weird. You feel like you kind of root for this guy, but at the same time, you're kind of like, this kind of, you kind of dug your own hole here, pal. So all this bad talk about your father being a deadbeat dad, all this, it's karma. It's karma. It's coming back at you, man. You had such a great thing with mommy. But it is wrestling, professional wrestling, entertainment. Definitely love where this storyline, was kind of heading. At first, I was a little cynical about it, but I feel like it could be. I feel like it could be a lot better. It could be a lot better, and obviously it's gonna happen, pretty soon. So next we have Joe Handry. Joe Handry's NXT debut topples over AEW new signees. And this is combined, and the huge and highly shocking, obviously, just shows how dominant WWE is. So when Joe Handry, showed himself within the WWE NXT universe, it toppled over views such as Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, and also Kazuchika Okada combined. Wow. That's crazy. I believe in Joe Handry. So obviously, you can't really blame that. I feel like it's kind of comparing apples to oranges here. At the time, WWE's so is so dominant right now. Like what I was talking about on my prior podcast, that at this point, if you're a wrestling promotion trying to survive, just make sure you stay the hell out of WWE's way. Like, obviously AEW, you're doing it with Dynamite. Obviously, maybe you should be having Rampage on another thing, on another day besides Friday, and then Saturday night Collision. But honestly, I love Joe Handry. I loved how he made his the crossover appearance on the 25-man battle royal for Trick Williams' NXT World Heavyweight Championship. The way the whole battle royal kind of ended out, I didn't really like it. So maybe that could be like a little bit of a lashback, because I really hope that I did not want Joe Handry to be the first one eliminated. I did not want Kazarian to be eliminated so quick. I kind of wanted to see just something different. I wanted to see Matt. I wanted to see Jeff. I just wanted to be shocked. Just wanted to be shocked. And I felt like, having the superstar start inside the ring, the moment WWE NXT starts, like, I guess you have to make room for your other promotions. But then you kind of had the Kelani Jordan versus Michin Women's North American Championship match. And then you also had that triple threat match, the triple threat women's tag team match. And it all ended within an hour. So why couldn't you kind of like, as an NXT, representative or a creative mind, why couldn't you kind of have something build up to the point where you could have had a traditional battle royal, kind of like the WWE does it with the Royal Rumble, and you just make it like 30 minutes to like, 40 minutes. I feel like that, would have been awesome. Definitely would have been awesome. So yeah. Next we have former IWGP champion Shingo Tagachi was spotted on AEW Dynamite. So could ultimately be a foreshadow for him, kind of opening that forbidden door. Hopefully, maybe having a way to kind of complete a match, because I know Naito is going to fight. John Moxley at Forbidden Door, but honestly, I feel like it's going to be great. I feel like it's going to be awesome. So yeah, I feel like the IWGP Championship is constantly in balance. Shingo Tagachi is going to be absolutely dominant. Would love to see him walk through that Forbidden Door. Perhaps maybe qualify for the AEW TNT Championship, or maybe perhaps the Owen Hart Cup. That would be pretty great as well. So, definitely, is an inspiring and, very talented superstar. Next, we see Matt and Jeff Hardy. The Hardy Boys think that they can make really, really good success in TNA. I don't doubt it at this point. Obviously, how you saw TNA Impact Against All Odds and in Chicago, I feel like they have some pretty good bookings for these boys. Matt Hardy's in one of the he's according to an interview, I think it was with the Guardian. That wasn't it. Uh, Ringside, no, cage side seats. I think it was one of those where he said he's in the best shape of his life. So then you have Brother Nero coming back. Hope everything's good with Jeff Hardy. Hopefully he can live up to his potential, and him and his brother can get back into the TNA World Championship, because right now the system's rocking. The system's rocking right now. Obviously, Matt Hardy, the broken Matt Hardy, can't do it on himself to dethrone Moose from the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, but hopefully with his brother Jeff, also with Joe Handry, maybe the Nick Nemeth brother, Rick and Ryan Nemeth could kind of help dethrone the system, because they've been on top for so dang long. But of course, you saw on Against All Odds, Dirty Dango, making his alliance with the system. So only time will tell. Only time will tell. Next, I have Logan Paul. Logan Paul has been highly scrutinizing the WWE for a lack of United States Championship defenses. And this doesn't really shock me. I actually agree with the YouTube star, boxer, whatever you want to call him. I agree with him 1,010%. There should be United States Championship matches. Why there wasn't one at Clash of the Castle, I'm not too sure. There probably should have been one. Why did they put Cody against him at King and Queen of the Ring in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia? It's beyond me. But obviously, you kind of have the LA Knight kind of knocking on that door. You have Carmelo Hayes kind of waiting in the wakes. But it's going to be good. I feel like so far, Logan Paul has kind of proved himself as a WWE champion, as of course the United States champion, and as a legitimate wrestler. So definitely not afraid to say that Logan Paul came from how he came from. A lot of people be like, oh, him and his brother, like they're fake, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that. To a degree, to any kind of degree. I feel like they excel at what they're doing. They obviously, I feel like maybe most of it's jealousy that people are like, oh, I want to be a WWE star. How did he do that? Or I want to be a professional boxer. How did Jake? Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, like there's always envy. That's of course a natural human response. So a lot of us can't really look at the mirror and kind of look at the person in the mirror and be like, you've never felt envy, because you did, you do. That's just a natural human response, and we're all guilty of it. So, definitely ride with Logan Paul with that. Next, I have Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry the King Lawler has officially stated that there was no bad blood between within WWE not signing the Legends commentary contract because of Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry the King Lawler has been going through a lot of health scares, a lot of just kind of going through some stuff. So right now, it's kind of smart for him to kind of focus on himself, focus on his family, because especially in terms of health, that's something that you can't really BS on, can't really throw in like the lands of like maybe in the back of your head where you're like, I'll worry about that later. That's something that a lot of people kind of take for granted, is their health. Obviously there could be stuff happening, but that's not that type of podcast. So let's go ahead and move on. And lastly, you have Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone has recently been asked by reporters, what do you think about WWE's crossovers and cross promotions and partnerships with TNA? And Tony Schiavone said basically what I kind of knew he was going to say. He said, and I quote, what they do, meaning what they do on WWE, does not impact me at all. There's a war going on. This is not the 90s. When he said there's a war going on, like I feel like he's kind of mimicking how it was back in the term when WCW, the Monday Night War with Nitro and Nitro and Monday Night Raw, and then just this fact is like this is not the 90s. That just shows that Tony Schiavone, he understands the world of wrestling. He knows that no one's ever going to compare it to the WWE. That's something that should have been nicked in the butt a long time ago. But obviously, you kind of had an egomaniac against another egomaniac. Bischoff and Vince McMahon go at each other, and they obviously Vince won-ish, but I imagine if WCW Nitro would have been moved to like Tuesdays or something like that, where you could have watched the same show. Like it's just crazy. It's just crazy. A lot of people, obviously there was a lot of creative, like botches in terms of, WCW during its later days when, Eric Bischoff ultimately took over as creative orders and stuff like that. And I don't know. I love Tony Schiavone. He's one of the most honest person in terms of professional wrestling. He's a great commentary guy. I've listened to him on TNA, WCW, and obviously now on All Elite Wrestling. So definitely. AEW so far, I feel like has done a really good job of staying out of the WWE's way. Hopefully, in the future of professional wrestling, WWE and AEW will explore the future together. Maybe potential, professional wrestling is becoming increasingly dynamic. Maybe there's, maybe some crossovers, maybe some partnerships amongst AEW and WWE. That would be absolutely dope. That would send the wrestling world on fire, because ultimately I feel like this whole, competing against each other, especially in this day and age of social media, where not a lot of people actually have cable television. So I feel like that's why WWE Raw is moving to, the likes of Netflix. It's because not a lot of people, they don't have YouTube. Not YouTube TV. Well, some people do have YouTube TV. You don't have Direct TV anymore. They don't have not Hopper. What is that? Oh my god. They don't have Time Warner or Spectrum. They also don't have Dish. It's all now streaming. We are now living in a day and age in terms of professional wrestling where the digital media is ruling the world. So obviously, to kind of kind of abide by that, kind of find a way to kind of adapt. I feel like that's the reason why you can kind of have promotions like TNA still, kind of work. You can have promotions like Ring of Honor work. You can have promotions like New Japan Professional Wrestling. You can have the NWA streaming on the CW app every Tuesday night. And you can have AEW, doing AEW things. So, definitely a different world. Definitely it's not the same. Like Tony Schiavone said, dude, it's not the 90s. Like, you know what I mean? So, kind of get over it. So, yeah, hope you guys. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys liked the show. 110% love to, thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for staying. Would love to see a little more chats, but there's tomorrow. Tomorrow, there's always tomorrow. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. Presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show and leave a positive review here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. It really does make a difference, guys. It really does. So don't make sure you check us out on Facebook, Twitter/X, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Like I always say, if I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, I know the NBA playoffs are over, but my man Nelson on the GSMC Basketball Podcast always have something hot. We have the Andrew Tate Show. We also have Samantha with your one-stop shop for women's sports. We also have my man Christopher on fantasy sports. I know a lot of you guys are going to be planning for your fantasy draft for the WWE for the NFL for the NFL season. I don't know who I'm going to pick for my first round pick. I've been kind of contemplating on taking like a kind of like someone I feel like they're not going to expect too much. I think I want to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. first round. I think I might. It could be wrong. Hit me up in the chat section. Tell me who's your first pick going to be. Because last year, my first pick was Travis Kelce, and he didn't really have your average, ordinary Travis Kelce kind of season, so it kind of bit me in the butt. So yeah, make sure you tune into those GSMC sports shows. Very passionate podcasters who love one thing and one thing only, like you guys do, sports. So make sure you check that out. So once again, have an amazing day. It is hump day. Today is Wednesday. Hope you guys are going downhill. Not downhill like as a bad thing. I know that kind of sounded dark. But hope you guys are approaching this Thursday and Friday like, oh, okay, we're heading toward the weekend. So guys, once again, absolutely love you. Thank you for tuning into my show. And hey, have a beautiful night.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's